All right, gang, we are going to be going over our practice problems from page 1 here on our 3.1b notes, identifying pairs of lines and angles. Reminding you what our goal is for this lesson. Our goal is to review the 5 special angle pairs and transversal lines. I said 6 in the other videos, but there are just 5 special angle pairs that we need to talk about. What I want you to do is pause right now and jump down to the bottom of the page. All right, we're going to be working here on this first set of practice problems. What we're going to be focusing on is the special angle pairs. What I want you to do is to list out all of the special angle pairs that you can think of. I would like you to pause the video and fill those in, and I will catch back up with you in a minute here to see how many we got. All right, these are the ones that I came up with: alternate interior, alternate exterior, corresponding, consecutive interior, consecutive exterior. A couple things that I want to make sure that you are aware of. Remember that there are 2 different kinds of interior angles, and there are 2 different kinds of exterior angles. And then I also want you to notice that there are 2 different kinds of consecutive angles, and there are 2 different kinds of alternate angles: alternate interior, alternate exterior, consecutive interior, consecutive exterior. Then those corresponding angles, those are the ones that are in the same corner. Those are the angles that make the F. Same corner right there. And then the last one that I have here is kind of a mixture of all kinds of problems from earlier in the unit. Those are linear pairs, vertical angles, and adjacent angles. Those are all individual different kinds of angles. Remember, the linear pair are just 2 angles that are next to each other on a straight line. The vertical angles are the 2 angles that point at each other. They are opposite of each other. And adjacent angles are just any 2 angles that are next to each other. And they don't have any special angle relationship at all. So let's move down to our diagram. I have some different angle pairs, and then we are going to figure out how they are related. The first one that we're talking about is angle 1 and angle 11. So I have some dots here. So there's angle 1, and there's angle 11. One thing that I want you to think about when you're solving these problems, something that I think would be helpful, is covering up part of the picture. So if I cover up the bottom of the picture, I only see those 2 highlighted angles. And then if I'm looking at this real closely, I can see that the interior of my angle would be right here. So both 1 and 11 are outside the angles, and 1 is above, 1 is below. Those are what we would call alternate exterior angles. All right. Then let's talk about the next set of angles. What do we got here? I got angle 13 and angle 15. So if I highlight those angles, here's angle 13 and here's angle 15. Now, if I cover up the part of the picture that doesn't involve 13 and 15, I would be covering up the top of the picture and technically covering up the left side of the picture. That shows me everything that I need to know. That tells me that's one of those old kinds of angles. Those guys right there, those are my vertical angles. They are not one of our new kinds. They are just opposite of each other. They point at each other. All right, let's go into this guy a little bit farther. So question C, it asks about angle 13 and angle 6. So angle 13 would be that guy right there. And angle 6 would be that guy right there. So again, cover up the part of the picture that you don't need to look at. That would be that part of the picture. And then if I look at that, I have to decide, are those angles interior? So are those angles between the 2 lines? And they are interior angles. And then if I trace those, do you notice that you have a U right there? And if you remember back, which ones are the C or the U? Those are our consecutive interior angles. So those 2 guys right there are consecutive interiors. Now let's get rid of some of this extra stuff that we got going on here. And try another one. D, angle 3 and angle 6. So if I look at those two angles, angle 3 is right here, angle 6 is right there. Again, covering up the extra part of the picture that I don't need to look at. Are those two angles between the lines? And they are. And I notice if I trace those two angles, again, there's my C, I have another consecutive interior pair of angles. Oops. Then let's look at 12 and 16. So angle 12 is right here and angle 16 is right there. Covering up the part of the picture that I don't want to look at, that would be on the left. Then I think, are those two angles between the lines? And so that right there would be between the two lines, and I notice the 12 is, but the 16 is not. We only have one pair of angles that is not between lines. And if I trace this, this might help me. And if I connect there, what letter have I made? And that looks like the F. Those are the corresponding. Those are my corresponding angles. And the last one that we have here is angle 7 and angle 8. And if I highlight angle 7, which is right there, and angle 8, which is right there, and cover up the part of the picture where only I would see those green dots, now I notice again, those are only in one little intersection. And if I trace those two angles, they don't make a special pair. In fact, they simply make that straight line. Those are what we call a linear pair of angles. They are also adjacent angles. All right, what I would like you to do is pause your video and work on, jump ahead to page 2, and then I'll catch you up in the next video. See if you need any more help.